What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and Mark Cuban is getting absolutely dog-walked on Twitter as he continues to flail around and try and justify his love, his religious commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, even in the face of absolutely everybody laughing at him getting endlessly ratioed. He is still out here flailing. And look, it's just proof that you don't have to be super smart to be super rich. And I think Mark Cuban kind of gives all of us regular folks hope that we too one day could be billionaires spouting off insanity on Twitter. Now he's going head to head with Elon Musk on his own platform. All sorts of old clips are resurfacing. Basically, Mark Cuban admitting that he doesn't like black people. And he is getting absolutely crushed, all because he doesn't want to accept a very real reality that DEI is a failed objective pushed upon large corporations for whatever reason you may want to insert. And it's been absolutely amazing. If you're enjoying my videos, all I ever ask is that you leave a like on it right now. And if you haven't yet, please do subscribe down below. And if you haven't turned on notifications, please do so. 2024 is going to be a wild year, and I need to be able to reach you. So I would greatly appreciate it. This explains, here's Elon Musk sharing. This explains why Mark Cuban's ridiculous overcompensation regarding racism. The same thing happened with Me Too. Guys who got busted suddenly became fake, ardent feminists. It's very true.
I know I'm prejudiced. I know I'm bigoted in a lot of different ways. You know, and I've said this before, if I see a black kid in a hoodie at night on the other side of the street, bouncing, you know, I'm probably on the same side of the street, I'm probably going to walk to the other side of the street.
Why? I'm not sweating that because I'm strapped anyway. I mean, I just said, I'm not sweating it. What are you talking about? I wonder what all the black players on your NBA team think about that. By the way, a team that has been wildly criticized by the media for being the whitest team in the NBA. You see some of their replies here. It's sad watching people get forced into these struggle sessions. He looks like a hostage to the woke crowd, just trying to avoid becoming a target. I mean, I think Elon just going full goblin mode. You know, the entire NBA, hey, Elon, get with Ice Cube so we can make a plan to start building alternative sports institutions. I agree. Chaya Raichik, absolute loser. This proves Mark Cuban is virtue signaling. If he truly supported DEI, he would sign the young Chinese girl to the Dallas Mavericks. Matt Wallace, I wonder if Mark Cuban walks to the other side of the hallway when he sees black Mavericks players in team hoodies. No wonder Mark Cuban fits in with the Democrats. They're the party of racists. I mean, everybody, Musk is doing to Cuban what he did to Zuckerberg. I mean, he's just, I mean, here's another great one. Shout out to the Rabbit Hole, someone I follow, Rabbit Hole 84 on Twitter. Mark Cuban wrote, you don't actually read anything, do you? You should read the website. It's a for-profit school. If they want primarily purple people eaters from Mars, it's their choice. Interesting. In order to have those Martians to become the United pilots, they first have to progress through a purely meritocratic system. They wouldn't hire any Martians before they are qualified. So Elon brings up that they can't hire enough pilots to fly planes because of DE&I requirements. This is a true thing. Look, again, every opportunity I can bring it up. You know, my wife's a pilot. My best friend's a pilot. I'm plugged into, you know, the pilot community. I know what's going on with pilots. I know where all the good pilots went when they forced the jab on them. Look it up. I mean, I know where all the good pilots went when they forced the jab on them, just like where all the good cops went. And we're all, you know, this is just an undeniable fact that they have had an overwhelming shortage ever since that point. They've got worse and worse pilots. You want to get frightened. Look at how terribly understaffed air traffic control is. Did you know that most air traffic control isn't even done on site at the airport? I bet you most people didn't even know that. It's done off site in like this underground bunker. Look at the retirement age. Look how long the limits are at even being able to work in air traffic control. I mean, there is going to be an on-runway disaster this year, almost certainly. We just saw one in Japan. Um, but anyway, so he brings up this point. Sorry for the aside, right? He's trying to say, hey, United can hire whoever they want. They're for profit. So he gets absolutely demolished by the rabbit hole for saying, let's switch around some words. Quote, it's a for-profit school. If they want to hire primarily white men from Alabama, it's their choice. If the idea of an institution specifically seeking out white male candidates makes you uncomfortable, then the idea of an institution specifically seeking out candidates of any specific demographic should also make you uncomfortable. Very good point. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits employment discrimination based on race, color, religion, and national origin. If we are going to be a nation that opposes demographic discrimination, then let's be consistent with it in our principles. DEI is just bigotry with better branding. Don't fall for it and reject this horrible ideology. In a separate thread, I asked Mark Cuban for his thoughts on demographic preferences in college admissions. His response, why should I care? Cuban's tweet has, of course, since been deleted. The attached screenshots shows the deleted tweet. You see, why should I care who Harvard does or doesn't let into their school? It's their school. Are you against private organizations being able to determine who they want to sell their educational services to? Don't you believe in capitalism? Well, the problem is Harvard racially discriminates against both white males and Asians. And white females, probably. This tweet was also screenshot by iSlasho. I'm attaching his tweet because Mark Cuban doesn't actually believe the things he's saying. He's just parroting what he's been told. Here you have Elon Musk flat out retweeting the rabbit hole saying Mark Cuban is a racist. The only way to prove he's not a racist and sexist is to put an Asian woman and a white woman on his basketball team. You see this. Patrick Bet David, Mark, are you still virtue signaling? Here's an article from The Guardian. The Dallas Mavericks are consistently white in a black league. Why? I mean, Mark Cuban is still trying to make up for this quote back from 2014. I can't believe he defended Harvard's demographic preference programs. I mean, they are just patently anti-white, anti-Asian. The Supreme Court ruled against them. People bringing up there truly is a Trump tweet for everything. When Mark Cuban started a show called The Benefactor, it was canceled after one season. Here's a letter Trump wrote him way back in 2004. Mark Cuban, I'm truly sorry to hear that your show has been canceled for lack of ratings. When I initially called you to congratulate you on The Benefactor, little did you or I realize how disastrous and embarrassing it would turn out for you to be. If you ever decide to do another show, please call me. I'm happy to lend a helping hand with best wishes. I mean, the entire, all these old clips of Mark Cuban getting brought up. Mark Cuban stands with groomer Jews. Flashback, Mark Cuban fangirls over receiving calls and letters from Donald Trump while in an ice bath. I'm not going to play that clip, but he does. Then you have flashback, Mark Cuban performing a cringe roast of Donald Trump. Elon Musk hitting in there with... So all this came out after Mark Cuban opened his mouth again. Do the black players on the Mavericks know that if Mark Cuban saw them walking on the same side of the sidewalk, he would walk to the other side of the street? Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably true. Patrick Bet David, Mark, do you realize how much your argument loses credibility when your team is the whitest team in the NBA? Patrick Bet David calls out Mark Cuban's hypocrisy on DE&I after he criticized Elon for having the richest, whitest team in the NBA. I would say that that's also true. I just, to me, Mark Cuban he's done us a great service. He has done us an absolutely great service because he has really put out for the entire world to see just how absurd diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are. Look, I think if you have a community of underserved people or whatever you want to call it, whatever woke branding you want to put around it, and you want to, extend training to them and do this kind of stuff, I think as a philanthropist, as somebody who's a billionaire, that's a great thing to do. Help these communities. If you're worried about Black communities, Asian communities, Hmong communities, whatever the various communities you think is underserved, then you should go provide free training for them and this, that, and the other thing, and then let them compete on meritocracy for the jobs in real life. You shouldn't be handing them the jobs based on their skin color. That's ultimately what people are pointing out here. people are pointing out that Mark Cuban, fake feminist, Hillary Clinton supporter, and all this stuff has been doing everything he can to prove himself. I don't believe for a second that he actually believes the things that he says. Even if we look back, and then there truly is a Trump tweet for everything. Here's one from 2014. Major League Baseball was really smart when they wouldn't let Mark Cuban buy a team. Was it his financials or the fact that he's an a-hole? I mean, Elon going full goblin mode against, against Mark Cuban has been absolutely amazing. I think that you have a situation here where Mark Cuban is trying to be the representative of full force for diversity, equity, and inclusion, even though I reported last week that most of Silicon Valley are cutting these jobs, that open listings for diversity, equity, and inclusion positions have been slashed by 44%. Some companies have cut up to 55% of their staff, according to some other reports. So you have a situation where we all know DEI doesn't work. It doesn't produce more profit. It was a product of companies that were making way too much money at the time and decided they wanted to create problems to solve. That's why everyone that spent all this money on fancy, gender studies degrees and things of that nature, they're all going to be out of work with a quickness. I hope you enjoyed this video. Screw Mark Cuban. If you haven't yet, leave a like on it, subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.